Hi, I'm Joshua Alexander, mental health freedom fighter, and I want to talk about the mental illness pandemic that's happening in the world today. And we're noticing that younger and younger people are getting sicker and sicker, not just with mental illness symptoms, but also chronic illness symptoms. They're teenagers who are come back from college and are stuck in bed and are diagnosed with autoimmune conditions. This never happened before. I grew up in the 80s, and I remember once in a while there'd be this rare person that had an illness, and it'd be like, whoa, like that person's sick. Like, wow, their whole life is being affected. And it was like rare and seemed more serious. Nowadays, everyone's getting sick, literally everyone. Like, just at my office, a company of like 25 people, most of them have symptoms or are sick or on medications. Pretty much everyone is getting symptoms now. And this has been a pattern since 1950. The viruses that were originally grown in labs in around 1920, since the Spanish flu, they were slower moving viruses. They took longer to nest in the liver, and they weren't as aggressive. And symptoms didn't start showing till around 1950. Since then, 70 years, there's been an exponential increase in chronic illness. That's what the wonderful medical research and science has given us. 70 years of an exponential increase in chronic illness. It's just getting worse and worse. So I don't know why anyone would put their faith in that, blind faith in that with that record. But it's great if you get a physical injury. It is, but not with chronic illness. So why are people getting sicker and sicker? One of the reasons is the viruses are getting more aggressive. As I mentioned, they weren't that aggressive early on. They took decades to nest. Nowadays, the viruses will nest in a few years. People are getting starting to get sick now, and in the next couple of years, just from viruses they got a couple of years ago with medical treatment. So they're much more aggressive, and they're creating problems with younger and younger kids. People are getting sicker younger and faster. And this is true with mental illness as well. A lot of people are struggling with mental illness symptoms, and it's devastating. When you're young, it's absolutely devastating because you don't have that track record of accomplishment in your life. You don't have those decades of experience of stability in your life. I got sick in my early 20s, right out of college, and just starting out my life as a young adult. And it's really, really hard when people get a chronic illness diagnosis later in life, 50s or 60s. It's a little more manageable psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, because they have that history of life. And it's so devastating for these young kids. And it's not their fault, and they're being blamed for it. They're being told all different sorts of things. They're lazy. They don't want to work hard. They have emotional problems. They're just being blamed for it, which is not helpful in any way, because it's not their fault in any way whatsoever. There are real reasons people are struggling. People are getting toxic heavy metals in them, and that's another reason. My grandmother had schizophrenia. She had high levels of mercury, and she ended up losing her life. She ended up spending her life in a managed care facility, drugged on an old school antipsychotic. It's devastating. Just not able to live her life. And, that mercury got passed down to me, got passed down to my mom and then to me. And also some of that emotional trauma of, my mom having a mother with schizophrenia created emotional trauma. Some of that got passed down to me. So, what's happening is kids are getting more and more toxic heavy metals in them from all different sources, different treatments. It's in pharmaceuticals. It's falling out of the sky. It's sprayed on nanotechnology, sprayed on new clothes and furniture, chemical fragrances. We're getting them in us all different sources, right? We're getting toxic heavy metals from conventional agriculture, from pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. It's bioaccumulating in our liver, and it's getting into our brain, and mercury will find itself. So mercury in the brain, when you get exposed to new mercury, it'll actually find the old mercury and combine, and it's really it's really problematic. And the younger kids are more sensitive. to mercury. It's each generation gets more and more sensitive to it, and we can see that it's affecting them greatly. And just blaming them is not going to solve it. It's going to make it worse. We have to know what's actually causing it. We have to recognize it as a physical problem causing physical issues in the brain, and we have to know how to solve it. And the medical medium information is the only source that told us how to do this. It's the only source that was honest enough to admit that the industry doesn't have answers and that there are real causes, and it's not our body doing it, it's not our mind doing it, it's not our bad genes. Billions and billions of dollars go into gene research over the decades, and as I said, chronic illness is just getting worse because they're not studying how to heal chronic illness. They'll never go there because then we're gonna have to ask, well, where did these viruses and heavy metals come from? And they're never gonna touch that. So they're studying genes for other reasons, just to find ways to control us and make our lives more difficult. I'm sure everyone knows at this point. I think the pandemic a few years ago really opened up a lot of people's eyes to the reality of what we're dealing with the industries, the level of corruption that we're dealing with. So the chronically ill bear the brunt of that. People with mental illness symptoms bear the brunt of that. And we don't have to just be the sacrificial lambs of society. We can actually heal. We can actually have a chance at living a life. God wants us to heal. God is not doing this. God is not making people sick. People in society are using their free will to harm others. Evil exists. Sorry, it does. But God is reaching us with this information, the medical medium information, telling us what's making us sick, telling us how to heal, so we can use God's created fruits and herbs to heal our body in the right way and climb out of the illness and be free. We can rise above the challenges that we're facing with in the society. We can help the younger generations have a chance at living life, and that's important. It's very, very important. Otherwise, everyone is eventually going to be affected by this. And everyone is eventually going to be affected by this because most people aren't really going to care until they get sick, which is sad. It'd be nice if people actually had compassion and cared about the sick before they got sick, but it's not really how it works. People kind of have to experience it to actually care, which is sad. You'd think Jesus would be enough for us to have compassion on the sick, his example, following him. But in my experience, it hasn't been. People, just like the Pharisees, they just can't accept it. They just can't go there because they don't know the experience, unfortunately. So anyway, the point is mental illness is healable. It's healable for the younger generations when they find out what's actually causing it. And it's not their fault, and they have a right to heal. So if you're listening to this message, if you're struggling with any symptoms, depression, anxiety, psychosis, depersonalization, feeling difficulty coping, any type of symptoms, you have to know it's not your fault. You have to know there are real causes and brain neuron problems caused by viruses and toxic heavy metals. You can heal it. You can get the toxins out of your body. You can knock down the viruses. You can strengthen your immune system with the right information. The links are in the description of how to access this information. It's all free. The medical medium information is all free. You can get the books at the library, okay? The podcasts are free. The blog posts are free. The books you can get at the library. So you can access all the information for free. My 2 ebooks are free, completely free, about how I healed from schizoaffective disorder. So this information comes from God. It's free, and God wants you to heal, and you have a right to it. You have a right to choose to heal with this information. So I wish you the best. You can do it. You were meant for this. You're made for this, to rise above this and to heal and to live a blessed life, because you have something in you. People who get sick with chronic illness, they have something in them that can survive. They're special. They have a special soul who that has a quality that can survive and rise above the illness. So you can do it. I wish you the best. God bless you.